This is episode number 98 of Hebrews in Exile with our honorable teacher, Robert B. Holman Jr. and Sean Appleton, and we are going to continue our discussion about Black history, which in fact, by the way, is the study of the Masoretic text. Think about that one for a little bit. So, without any further ado, Hebrews in Exile, you know what we do. Let's go!
You're the harvest, you're my light, you're of creation, you make everything right.
This is Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Sean Appleton, and this is Hebrews in Exile.
I know, Sean, I always start out the conversation each time we begin a podcast, and we have been dealing with some catastrophic things concerning the melanated man, particularly in this exile. And it's not just in the United States of America, but it's all over the four corners of the world.
Yeah.
A couple of things strike my attention as I come to tonight's podcast. There are several things of current events that have happened that have drawn my attention to something that speaks to the Most High that most people would not even associate the Most High with.
Okay. It's going to be good. Yeah.
One happened just this week in which there was a massive earthquake in Turkey, in Syria, that killed thousands of people in one day. I thought about that. And I thought about going to text and listening to the thousands of people that are written in text that the Most High demised in one day, either through famine or opening up the ground and swallowing people up, such as Korach.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I'm going, man, you wouldn't normally, a person would think, well, the Most High wouldn't do that.
Right.
But earthquakes are catastrophic events that shake the very foundation of the earth. Who controls all things?
The Most High, Yahweh.
Who controls the elements?
The Most High, Yahweh.
And so I thought about it, and I'm going, wow, Most High, you took out thousands of people in one day in Turkey and Syria, which are nations that don't worship or serve him.
That's correct. That's correct.
And this ain't the first time he's done this.
That's right. Whatever. Now, go ahead.
Now, you all listen to this would think, well, that's you're really speaking from an inhumane point. I mean, humans lost their lives.
Sure.
But when you read in text, you'll find that nations of people under the hand of the Most High has caused historically nations of people over thousands and thousands of years. Nations of peoples have died at the hands of the Most High.
That's true. Very true. Yeah, that's no better book to exemplify that is Yahushua's book explains it. You got that on the tail end of Devarim as Moshe is transversing and getting the people towards the land. They went through Heshbon and Og and all those, the Amori and all those individuals and wiped them out. I mean, and it was women and children going there, and when you read it, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, and when you look at the prophets, particularly Ezekiel, the Most High talks about how he destroyed the nation of Babylon, the Babylonians, and so it's not, there's a song that I can't think of it's not Neil Simon. It's not unusual.
That's Tom Jones.
Tom Jones.
Yeah.
It's not unusual for the Most High to act like this.
Showing my age.
It's not unusual for the Most High to act. Listen, people.
Yeah.
The seriousness of the understanding of how the Most High functions can only be understood from text.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But, I'm going to say this to you. While you read text, you can read text and not understand text. And miss the whole fervor of the Most High's attitude when he's happy, when he's sad, and when he's angry.
Absolutely. We have to understand that we were created in the image of the Most High, and the Most High has character, and he behaves a certain way.
And not only understand this very factor in the Most High, the Most High can be very manipulative.
Sure. Without a doubt.
And you can only understand that as you understand text. Now, I'm going to say this, and hopefully by the time this podcast gets out, we'll be there. We have a channel that we are establishing. It's called the Patreon. And
it's on the platform Patreon.
On the platform Patreon.
Yeah.
And it's called Yahweh's Exiled Empire. We're going to put into that Patreon a lot of the teachings that we do every Shabbat here in our congregation at FTF. And for those of you who don't follow us on any other platforms, the teachings that are going to go there are going to help you to understand exactly what I'm saying to you now, to understand from text how the Most High fits all of the relational attributes that are also germane to man. He's happy.
Yes.
He's sad.
Yep.
He's angry. He's manipulative.
All fit.
Now, the last one you say, Elohim can't be manipulative. That's a human trait. No, it's not a human trait. And for this reason. And, I want you. Why don't you speak to the manipulative side? Yeah, and out of text, because when we look at
Shemuel or Shimshon.
Shimshon.
Yes.
Which is Shimshon, Hebrew, Samson for you
right.
all who don't understand the Hebraic name. Shimshon. Shimshon did something at the behest of the Most High that was very manipulative. What was that?
Well, he did a couple of different things, but one of the most glaring ones is the fact that he manipulated every situation that he was posed with in order to fulfill the task of getting to the Philistine. So what he's doing is once he goes and gets his first wife, he's manipulating that particular situation in order to get in behind enemy lines in order to affect the Philistine. His whole entire goal from the onset of him being a Nazir, from his inception was, and the text talks about him, it says, I'm going to use this individual to pick a fight and start the demise of the Philistine. And at every turn, you see, if you don't look at him, if you look at him through the guise of on the surface, this is just a sniveling individual who just falls at the whims of whatever situation that comes and he's controlled by lust. But that's not the Hebraic Shimshon, Shimshon that we know.
Right.
He's completely manipulating every situation to appear weak in some regard. So what? I can get you to let your guard down so I can do what I need to do and work the damage that I need to do. So when you look at it from that particular standpoint and you say the Most High is endowing individuals, hopefully this is where you were wanting me to go with this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he's giving individuals this strategic military prowess to be able to go and infect and do damage that they need to do. Shimshon was an army of one.
Yeah.
He, with that donkey's jawbone, he went in there and played havoc. And not only that, his greatest was when he was at his weakest, when he was stripped of all of his strength. He goes behind enemy lines to get them into a choke point where he could get rid of them all at one time. Every inch of that man's life that we read in text is strategic, and he's manipulating every single situation. But for the layperson, he's just going to be Samson, the bumbling idiot.
Now, I'm going to hold you right. I'm going to hold you right at that point because I'm going to put that lesson. We're going to put that lesson into our Patreon account so people can hear it.
Hear that, yeah.
Yeah. I forget what chapter it is, but
I think it's 5 and 6. 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there.
You'll have to go in and you'll have to subscribe to our Patreon account.
No, excuse me. I'm in the wrong book. I got to get back over into Shofar with the judges because we start chapter 17 with that Levite. So it would be 15, 16, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So we're going to put that information up so you can hear the teaching of the real Shimshon from a Hebraic viewpoint and not from a Eurocentric viewpoint, because the Eurocentric viewpoint completely misses the whole it misses the story. The story is so wrong. It's like listening to a biography that you know is wrong, and you know the person and what's being presented is totally wrong.
Right.
That's what this is like.
Yeah.
Now, I said that the Most High is also manipulative. The Most High was manipulative in the situation, once again, with the ark. When the ark was taken captive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so what happens is
What text is that in?
that is in the book of Shemuel.
Yeah, okay.
Shemuel. So you might know him as Samuel. But it's Shemuel. So it's the Hebrew Shemuel. So Shemuel has now become to a level of prominence in the Empire of Israel. And so what happens is the ark gets taken from under the at the time the Kohen Gadol was Eli. And Eli allows the ark to go down to the front line because the Hebrew people thought, oh, we're going to bring the Ark of the Covenant down here as a lucky rabbit's foot to help us beat the Philistine army. So, but see, here's a point I got to bring up. If you do not know these mitzvot, you are going to completely still miss it.
Yeah.
All of these mitzvot, because literally, soon as I said the ark went down to the front line, excuse me, don't we have mitzvot in place that say a certain group of individuals has to carry it?
Carry the ark, right.
Yeah, that the ark can only be viewed by the Kohen Gadol once a year on Yom Kippur. So these mitzvot have to be germane into the forefront of your frontal lobe of your cognitive ability to be able to understand that something's not right here. But when you're not taught them that they've been done away, that they're weak and ineffective, you don't have any credence. Just like these 5 individuals who decided to execute our brother in the street, they looked at him because it's not a community of people. It's not a community.
Right.
It's us against them.
Right.
Just like we had in slavery, we had the individual that was the head Negro that watched the rest of the Negroes that were out there.
Right.
Okay, so we have the same type of cop mentality that's been perpetuated, and it's this downward playing of our people. We don't have a community anymore. I don't even know why I went off on that tangent right there, because we were talking about the ark going on down there. But yeah, to your point, the Most High allowed himself and the Ark of the Covenant to be taken to the front line and to be carried off by pagans. By
pagans, yeah, and that is a violation of mitzvah. So now, with that in mind, I want you to continue this. With that in mind, what we're talking about here is a attribute of the Most High, in which that the Most High can be manipulative. Why would he allow the Ark of the Covenant, in which that he dwells over and is connected to, be taken behind enemy lines and be handled by heathens? Exactly. And be placed, it's taken behind enemy lines and placed in the temple of Dagon, which the Dagon, I'm going to let you go with this one because I know where you're getting ready to go. You run with that because you know this story well. So he's placed in the temple of Dagon, and for all of you that don't know who Dagon is a Philistine god who has the upper torso of a man but has the lower torso of a fish. So he doesn't have any legs. So the ark is placed next to their main god. So overnight, as they leave their temple, Dagon winds up on his face. When they go back into the temple, like, why is Dagon laying on the floor? So they pick Dagon back up, and it was you who brought to my attention, I'm going to bring this up, that anytime, now I have to do this like an old preacher, anytime you have to help your God up off the floor, we got a problem. So y'all that are really gung-ho about, hey, as he's walking up to, what was the hill of Golgotha, and somebody had to come and help him carry his cross. If somebody has to help your God walk. Okay. Now, you don't open up a whole can of worms. And this is not even the same situation to say, okay, well, how can you brothers sit there and say that? Because Jesus let himself be vulnerable no, because the end game was that when the Most High goes behind enemy lines, he's kicking proverbial. Yeah. Right. Now you figure out what yah is. Yah. Not to do something that's out of compliance with what's in text. He's strategic in what he's doing. Listen, the Elohim that we serve will take whatever measures that he needs to take to protect his wife. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Israel is his wife. Israel is his firstborn son. Mm-hmm. Israel is the apple of his eye. Yes. And he will do whatever he needs to do to protect his wife until his wife, his son, whatever Israel is to him, gets to a place where he gets obstinate, contrary, and doesn't want to live by the Most High's rules. At that point, the Most High backs off and lets whatever happen to her. But in this case that we're talking about here of him being manipulated, he's going behind enemy lines to take some specific action and come out victorious. Dagon falls on his face. They set him up. Yep, they set him up. Come back the next day, he's on his face. Again, because of the power of the Most High that resided in that place. In other words, understand something here. No heathen, no idolatrous anything can stand in the presence of our Elohim. That's correct. Period. That's correct. Period. Right.
And I'm going to drop some game real quick. I'm going to drop some game. I got to finish this because the Most High gave me something. As I'm not to say he gave me something, but I just want to reiterate something that we've said before as we've done this teaching. The Most High got Dagon on the floor. His head has been separated from his body. They come in there. Now, I want you to understand something. These Philistine folk are not stupid. They're not idiots. Okay? Because part of their testimony was, as the Most High is down there, the Most High gives them a couple plagues. He sends a whole bunch of rats in there, and then he sends a whole bunch of tumors that are in there. And then the Philistines say to themselves, listen, we have to get rid of this thing. This thing is not conducive for it's not really good for our health.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, the Ark of the Covenant has to go. So they make this decree and they said, well, we'll send it up the hill back into the land upon which it came from, and we'll watch it. And if the rats go away when the ark goes away, then we know it was the Ark of the Covenant. But if the rats stick around and the tumors stick around, then we know it was just a coincidence that happened when it showed up. But luckily for them, they understood immediately when the ark left and went back up the hill into the field of Bet Shemesh. There was a man that owned that field. His name was Yehoshua. As it went back up into the field, it literally, all the rats and the tumors went away. I bring up this issue to say this, is that the Philistine army had in the text, it says they recognized who this was being taken from. They recognized that this was the great El.
Yeah.
That delivered these people out of Mitzrayim and did all of these plagues. It's in the text. They actually acknowledge that fact. So I want you to do some deductive thinking. Deduce. Let's use our cognitive abilities here, people. If you know that the power of this particular El, and you've had not only heard about it through your one witness, which is your ears, you've seen it and had the experiential knowledge of it because it was in your midst and it did what it did to your people and your God. It's not hard to believe that when it goes back up and they decide they want to go ahead and attack the people that the Most High is protecting. Now, you would think to yourself, why would anybody be that stupid? You know that this is like napalm. This is like a radioactive bomb that's here. Why in the world would I go mess with that again? Because they're not under their own influence. And the game that I'm getting ready to drop here is this, is that we see these atrocities happening to our people in the world, but as a Hebrew people, we are sympathetic and empathetic because they're our people, but we're not surprised. And the reason we're not surprised is because all the things that you're going through are going through the hands of a manipulative Elohim that's manipulating a group of people to impose this oppression upon you to get you to come back. There is a master plan we are living out prophecy. And the thing is that if you look to text, you see the character of the Most High and he never changes.
And that's the reason why I said the Most High has these character traits.
Yeah.
He can be sad. He can be happy. He can be angry. And he can be manipulative.
Yep.
Now, let's go back and give you a classic example of the manipulation.
Okay.
When Yisrael was down in Mitzrayim, Egypt.
Yes.
The Most High spoke to Moshe and told him, I'm going to manipulate the situation by doing what? I'm going to harden Paro's heart.
Yep.
So everything that we're going to be doing, we're going to be saying, and everything that I'm going to send you down to deal with him. Remember, I've hardened his heart.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now we come full circle within the confines of where we are today in today's current events and in this exile. Well, how many exiles have there been? Well, there's been Babylonian exile, there's been Syrian exile, then there's been this global exile where he's dispersed Hebrew Israel to the four corners of the earth, and melanated people have been dispersed out of the land. Now, you got to remember something. You got to remember something in history. The earth was filled with melanated people.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Melanated people were the dominant people of the world. So the Most High dispersed melanated people out of the land into the four corners of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done that because Israel has failed to honor his rules and his instructions. The mitzvot, which I shared in brief with you, there are a lot more than I want to share. I just got to figure out where I left off so I don't repeat myself when we get back into them. So now we're looking at current events that are taking place. We've got a Tyre Nichols,
yeah,
who was just murdered by these police in Memphis, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my frustration. My frustration is getting back to your point that the Most High has hardened the hearts of these people in this exile that's caused these people to be under the influence of what we call racism.
Yeah.
Being racist is a hardened heart that the Most High has created against his people to get his people to turn. Now, here's the interesting part of this discussion that troubles me. I listen and trust the fact. What happened to that young man was atrocious.
Absolutely, without question.
And what happened to the young Floyd?
George Floyd.
What happened to George Floyd was atrocious.
Yes.
What happened to all of our melanated people at the hands of nations of people that are not us is atrocious.
Exactly.
I'm not dispelling any of that. However, what you have, if you believe that everything that happens in the world is under the influence of the one who created it,
yes,
then you have to recognize that the Most High, and don't tell me, well, the Most High doesn't create evil. Well, no, he allows evil to manifest for one sole purpose, and that's to have a cause and effect on the exiled Hebrew Israel that's in exile. That's the only reason. However, the problem that don't say I don't believe that, because how else do we have bad things and atrocities happening in our society? And don't tell me that the devil is working, and don't tell me that there is a devil, because text doesn't support that.
Sure doesn't. Sure does not.
But here's my problem. My problem is that in all of these atrocities that are happening to our people in exile, everybody is calling for the wrong thing.
What are
They're
they calling
crying out. There's a cry out, but the cry is the wrong cry. The cry is for justice.
Yes.
We want justice for George Floyd. We want justice for Tyre Nichols. We want justice for Breonna. We want justice for this one and this one and this one.
Yes.
That's the cry.
Yes.
That's the national cry. The national cry is Black Lives Matter. That's a national cry. But I'm going to go to text. If we read text, in every instance where Hebrew Israel was in dire trouble, the Most High says, I heard the cry. What cry did he hear? See, and every time you read in text where the Most High says, I heard the cry, he says, he comes down. And he does something.
Yes. Agreed.
In this situation, we have to go back and we have to understand Hebraically what the cry, and we got to understand who's crying out.
Exactly.
Because the cry has to come from Hebrew Israel.
That's right.
The nation, listen. That text across the street that says, El so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. You better go back across in the Hebrew text and read in the Hebrew text where the Most High said the nations are but a drop in the bucket.
In the bucket, yeah.
In other words, to put it succinctly, I can't use the word. It wouldn't be proper for me to use the word. But when he says the nations are not but a drop in the bucket, he's saying, I don't care about the nations.
Mm-hmm.
I care about Israel.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And yeah, we're missing the whole entire point behind why we're continuing to keep perpetuating the situation that we're in.
So a couple of things are at play.
Yeah.
The hearts of the people into the nations that Hebrew Israel has been dispersed is parallel with Paro and Mitzrayim.
Oh yeah.
The people's hearts are hardened against this.
Yes.
So now you ask a question. Why are these things continuing to happen to us? Because the Most High has hardened the hearts of these individuals against us.
That's correct.
And it's going to continue to happen until Hebrew Israel relents and cries out to the Most High. That's the cry.
Yes.
But let's define what that cry is.
Okay.
Because if we look at the first cry, no, it's not the first cry. Is it the first cry? Is Mitzrayim the first cry?
Yeah. It would have to be because they went down 70 deep. They got down there, and then Joseph was in at the top, and then they multiplied.
Okay, so now let's go through that whole scenario.
Yeah.
He heard the cry of the suffering of Israel at the hand of Paro. He came down, and the necessity was that Israel, who had multiplied in the land of Mitzrayim, they went down 70. They came out 604,000 plus men.
Men, right, just men.
About 8 million.
Counted, yeah.
About 8 million collectively with women and children. They came out about 8 million. He said, I heard the cry. And he comes down. And finally, he takes Israel through this exercise for which that they also participated in some of the events that the 10 plagues that the Most High exacted on Mitzrayim. But the goal was to get Israel up out of a land so that they could go somewhere and worship him.
That's right. Now that's text.
And not only go somewhere and worship him, but also go somewhere where he could impart to them his laws, his rules, and his instructions.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, they had to have that incubation time to understand how it works.
So that manipulative situation was for the cause of getting them out of a situation where he could take them someplace and seclude them unto himself and begin to instruct them and teach them a way of life in which that they could have a cohesive relationship with the Most High as a opulent nation. So he gave them rules and instructions. He gave them a constitution.
Yes.
He gave them a way of life.
Exactly.
He gave them a preamble, and he gave them a song. That's a nation.
Yeah, you put all the ingredients in the pot. You got, like you said, that's an empire, a nation of people that knows how to govern themselves, knows how to behave, knows how to be a leader. Let's look at how low we have sank as a group of people to where the Most High says you are supposed to be teaching everybody else.
Yes.
But we're now begging for justice.
Yes.
From hallowed halls of government that we didn't create.
That are never going to happen.
This is like an exercise in futility where we're going to get to the point where is the best that we can do while we're here in the United States, and I'm talking germane to the United States, and this might be wherever you are to disperse throughout the world. The best that you can do is a seat at the table, to be looked upon as equal. That is the pinnacle of where we need to be. We just want everybody to treat us like we're human beings and we're one of them.
Not going to happen.
When did that start? If our ancestors were here, their heads would be hung low because of how bad it's gotten. And this is all the problem with all this. It is laid out in that book.
It's laid out. It's laid out in text.
And this is the problem, because the what is the proverb is you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's exactly what's happening. A whole entire Mitzrayim situation is happening over again.
Now, understand something. You know, we're talking about the Most High being, having a spirit of manipulation. Our plight in the world, the melanated man's plight in the world, is tied to the Most High.
Sure.
And the melanated man doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
And that's you know, that's what disturbs me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get back to the cry. If we go to the book of Judges, mm-hmm. which I call it the roller coaster. Book, you call it the
relapse book.
The relapse book. And in every instance in which that Hebrew Israel, now I want you to listen to this, okay? If you study the text, Hebrew Israel and Judges are melanated people.
Absolutely. Without question.
And the necessity of a judge is to rescue them from their oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
But the Most High does not send them a deliverer until they cry out to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now notice, he doesn't send them, read the text, you all, read the text. He doesn't send them a deliverer until they cry out to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's the cry?
I'm pointing to this book over here, this Torah.
But see, our listeners, our listeners don't know. Our listeners can't see what you're pointing to.
We have violated your mitzvot to obey them. We are turning back to your mitzvot. The cry is deliver us. But we have to first show, part of that cry is just like with anything in reality. Somebody does you wrong and they say, I'm sorry for what I did. I acknowledge what I did and I'm turning and I won't do it again. And then I'm walking a different path. And you're going to sit back and you're going to say, show me. Because you fooled me once. Shame on you. You fooled me twice. Shame on me. Okay. So that's the deal. It's a two-part recipe that says you acknowledge it, you've turned back, you've acknowledged the mitzvot, and you're showing the Most High that we were trying to make some forward progress and some momentum here. So come deliver us.
Right.
Because we're looking at your word and you're saying we're in compliance with it now, at least trying to be as most as we can.
Right.
You got to come down and act upon what you said.
Yeah. And see, listen. The cry has got to be an act of teshuvah, which is repentance and turning back to the Most High, his ways and his instructions.
That's true.
The cry, listen. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. I mean no harm at all when I say this. For thousands of years, or for hundreds of years, that we've been in this exile, there's been a cry out to the wrong person, and we haven't gotten any relief.
Right. That's correct. Hadn't gotten any better.
We've cried out to the Eurocentric and I'm going to put it in this context. I'm going to say this. We cry out to the non-melanated man of the Hebrews, the non-melanated man, of the Greeks to deliver us, and there has not been one single deliverance.
That's correct.
From our enemies. Our enemies continue to beat us to death, shoot us in the back, find a cause and reason to hang us. I don't care if it was lynching in the old days. They got a new lynching now, and it's the same thing. It's still a lynching happening to us, and we keep promoting an L, little L.
Yeah,
that's not our big L.
See, and
I gotta put I gotta put it in that context to keep it straight. In other words, let me put it like this. I'm going to say it. Jesus Christ is not our Elohim.
There you go.
And we can't cry out to somebody that doesn't have the power nor the authority to deliver us.
Correct.
So over these 400 plus years that our people, and this is Black History Month, that our people have been exiled into these foreign nations. And we've been looking for deliverance, and we believe in the Eurocentric God. That God has not delivered you.
Yeah, nor will he ever.
But we have documented texts. We have documented texts from our ancestors.
Oh.
We're talking about Black history now.
Right. Yeah.
Hebrew text is not about non-melanated people. It's about melanated folks.
Sure enough.
And in that text, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Elohim of Yahashua, the Elohim of Deborah, the Elohim of Gideon, the Elohim of
Shimshon, Shemuel, all of them.
That Elohim, when he hears the repentive cry of his people, he comes to deliver and dispel the wickedness that's upon his people. That's historically written in our text. Now, here's the problem. If you all want to take the Hebrew text as a story and just as something that happened in the past to some people and blah, 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 and you don't believe it, that's on you.
Yeah.
And you can continue to get your beat
to death.
But I've said in a prior podcast, if the melanated man would turn from his wickedness, what's wickedness? Idolatry. But the problem being is you and I sit at these mics every week, and we're having a hard time proving to our people that what they're in is idolatry.
Right. That's true.
They're not hearing us.
Nope. Not at all.
And I don't know what it's going to take for them to hear us, but they're not hearing us.
Right.
But until we turn and call, the text says, in our text, it says, he that calleth upon the name of, in the Hebrew text, upon the name of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh shall be saved. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is not written
anywhere
in your Greek inspired Bibles. So you don't even know his name. You call him Lord. And when you call him Lord, you associate Lord with Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So consequently, there's no. Listen, please listen. Please. I hope you hear me. There is absolutely unequivocally no major deliverance in the name of Jesus.
Agreed. Yeah. Now, I know some people will fight you on that one. But
There is none.
yeah.
Our ancestors, our prophets, our ancestors used and called on the name of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh. Some of you Hebrews might say Yahweh. Some of you might say Yahuwah. Understand something. We're close in the narrative of who we're talking about with the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And you got to remember that with Hebrew Israel being in exile, we've lost a lot of things that our ancestors knew. But we're close in terms of the fact that at least we know that he has a name.
Yeah.
And we know, I can testify for an assurance that I know that the name of Yahweh works.
Yeah.
And it's powerful.
It is.
And there's nothing that can stand in its place.
Yeah, nothing in opposition. Yeah. You know what? All the times that I've heard you speak, I don't know if you've said that 100 or 1,000 different times, but that just now resonated with me. Do you realize how powerful of what you just got done saying? Is that this group and nation of empire of people, we're talking about something that works. I'm not talking about over there across the street where this dude had a couple of 12 folk following him around and that's all he could get. I'm talking about millions of people and they called on the name of the Most High Yahweh. And then 400 years goes by and then all of a sudden we don't call on that name no more. That's powerful.
Listen.
Man.
Listen. The king writes in Tehillim, Psalms, chapter 40, verse 5. How blessed the man who trusts in Yahweh and does not look to the arrogant or to those who rely on things that are false. How blessed. The problem being is if you don't know that this is false and you shut your mind up to even consider that. And listen. There is something definitely wrong with that text. And there's something wrong with the theological teaching of that text. Let me take a case in point. Okay. Those who are dead shall rise first. And we who are alive and remain shall be caught up to meet him in the air.
In the air. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Those who are dead in the grave, I thought they were already in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, every funeral I've been to in a Christian church all my life, people die and they're immediately in heaven.
Right.
Or they're going to heaven.
Right. Take the big old escalator up there. So, and even if you take it even a step further, what does that piece in Revelation?
Those who rely on things that are false.
Right. Because you had a little piece in Revelation that you talk about too. How in the world is it coming down?
In the same chapter of chapter 40, we're talking about Torah mitzvot. And this whole conversation about Shimshon, this whole conversation about
Shemuel and
all of it
and all
are all connected to mitzvot. Which makes the mitzvot very important. Listen to this. Verse 9, Psalms 40. Doing your will, my El, is my joy. Your Torah is in my inmost being. Your rules, your instructions, your commandments, your mitzvot are in my inmost being. This is the king talking.
That's right.
Now, I know, and you got to ask yourself a question. When you read this text across the street, it says, doing your will, my El, is my joy, and your law is in my inmost being. What law?
What law?
What
exactly.
Law?
Define what that is.
What law? What law is he talking about? Because we know it to be the laws and the instructions that are written there in that Moshe talks about in Devarim chapter number 4.
4, yes. Interesting piece.
Yeah. So all of these things that we're talking about, he says in chapter 44, he says, El, you are my king. Command complete victory for Yaakov. What's he saying? Yahweh, you are my king. Command complete victory for Israel, because Yaakov and Israel are synonymous.
Yeah.
So he talks about all of these things that we're talking about, in which that there is powerful aspects that are germane to the Most High.
Yeah, it's
in chapter 46 of Tehillim, Psalms 11. He says, "Desist and learn that I am El, supreme over the nations, supreme over the earth."
Can I go somewhere real quick?
Sure.
Because you made mention something about heaven, about people going up to heaven and whatnot. And then, because it's piggybacking, as germane to what you're talking about, is the importance of these mitzvot and understanding those mitzvot. What came to mind is this piece that's actually across the street. Because one of the things that we have to always be cognizant of is there's been kind of a fail-safe that's been put in place with this issue of they've been done away with. You don't need to know them, so just throw them away. We're reading about how the mitzvot are our joy. They're this, they're that. But then a lot of our people are prescribing to a teaching that's telling them disregard them because they mean nothing to you. And what's interesting enough is that even though that's being taught, your Messiah, Jesus the Christ, tells you to follow the mitzvot. And where does he tell you to follow the mitzvot? He tells you to follow the mitzvot in chapter 5 of Matthew, starting at verse 17. And I read, it says, "Don't think that I've come to abolish the Torah and the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to complete." Let's break that down and unpack that real quick. The issue is that I've come to show you that they can be done. Now, not if we believed in Jesus Christ, that'd be a different story. But to you guys who is still, he's germane to, he's telling you, listen, I've come down here to show you that the mitzvot can be done, not to do away with them. He never says that. And he goes on to prove that fact when it says, "Yes, indeed, I tell you that until heaven and earth pass away, not so much as a iota or a stroke will pass from the Torah. Not until everything that must happen has happened. So whoever disobeys," now you folks that are prescribing to be Christians need to be listening to this. "So whoever disobeys the least of these mitzvot." I got a problem with that right out of the gate, because the Most High never puts any value on one mitzvot to the next. He never says this one's better than the next.
He just says obey.
He says obey them. So right here we got some issues, but it starts getting worse for you guys. But it's because it says, "So whoever disobeys the least of these mitzvot and teaches others to do so will be called least in the kingdom of heaven." So right off the bat, your teacher, your Messiah, your God is telling you that anybody who teaches the mitzvot against the mitzvot will be least in the kingdom. But whoever obeys them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom. So you've made your calling and election sure that everybody that's going to heaven who doesn't prescribe to the mitzvot is going to be in the back row at best. "For I tell you, unless your righteousness is far greater than the Torah teaches," wonder who they are. "And the Pirushim, you will certainly not enter into the kingdom of heaven." So how in the world are these folks dying and going to heaven, and they have no idea what these mitzvot even are, because your teacher, your God tells you, says, if you go ahead and you teach against them, you will be least in this kingdom.
Well,
this is in Matthew 5:17.
Yeah, see, that's so, and see, this is the problem with the Greek text. It's ambiguous.
Very.
And it has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. As the Native Americans say, you speak with a forked tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to what our King says in Psalms, the Helium, chapter 62.
62, okay.
And 8. He says, my safety and honor rest on Elohim. Elohim. My strong rock and refuge are in Elohim.
Yeah.
Trust in him, people, at all times. Pour out your heart before him. Elohim is a refuge for us. Selah. Think about that.
Think about that.
Think about that. Think about that. You see, you go to church every Sunday. Some of you go to Bible class. Not many of you go to a prayer meeting.
No.
But you're not being taught what the Most High has to say.
Exactly.
And what his emissaries have to say. You're listening to a guy that's not repeating only sparsely every and now and then, but not in complete context what the Most High has said. Now, I'm going to tell you something as this podcast begins to come to a close. And I need that camera focused right on me.
Smack dead.
It's right smack dab on me. As Stephen A would say.
What'd he say?
Put the camera on me. Yahweh, Elohim, is my husband. And him being my husband, because Israel, in Hebrew Israel, is his wife. He talks about that. We know that from Shemot chapter 20. Shemot chapter 20 is the marriage vows, in case you don't know that. If the Most High is my husband, I don't have to listen to anybody except what my husband says, because I have complete confidence that he brought all things into existence, including me, and he is the only one that I ever have to listen to.
Mike John.
And his emissaries.
That's correct.
His emissaries.
That's right.
The ones he appointed.
Exactly. I'll give you the ones that I want you to have.
You got a king over there. The Most High said, I will appoint your king. You got a king over there that he never appointed.
Never.
Doesn't meet the mitzvot. Well, Sean, we're coming to the end of another podcast. We hope that you've gotten something out of this. This has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Sean Appleton.
And this has been
Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.